lower.
Larry, what the hell are you...
Larry! Larry, you can't just... Oh.
Larry! Oh, are you all right? How did...
Larry! Righto, what's going on here?
Oh, sir, I'm arrested. Oh! Oh, arrest! Oh!
Hopes are fading on sealing a Brexit deal this month, the Irish Prime Minister has said. EU leaders had tentatively scheduled a special summit for mid-November to sign off on the deal. However, negotiators remain at odds over the Irish border question.
So we're hearing from the government that it will not accept a permanent backstop situation, and yet we hear very differently from Brussels at the moment. Is there any end to this deadlock, this impasse now?
Well, the British government will probably have to think about folding again their hand on this, because they've had to compromise and compromise and compromise to go towards the EU position all the way through. And we go through this all the time. We have lots of meetings, there's going to be a decision, then it's put off for another few days. When I came here the last time, I said that basically this could go on until December, into January. So we are still at a stage where nothing is agreed on this issue, and nothing looks like it's going to be agreed on this issue. But
what is agreed is that both sides say there should be no new checks on this border. Is that really realistic? Because we're talking about a border between the EU and the UK. Surely there've got to be some checks.
Well, they don't want a hard border. That is both sides don't want to have that. So they're trying to work that one around all the complications here in terms of treaties and everything. So I think they both genuinely want that, but if there's no deal, it will be a hard border and there will be checks.
And what about the idea that maybe a backstop should just apply to Northern Ireland, or should it apply to the whole of the UK?
Well, if it applies to the whole of the UK, the idea would be from the British side that would be temporary. A backstop only for Northern Ireland would throw in the DUP's veto, and they've made that very clear that that is unacceptable for them. The question I would ask is, when will the government, or when will a new government actually throw the DUP overboard and actually do a deal on this and get to Parliament and say, look, we've got a deal, this is the best we can do, vote for it.
But is that possible? I mean, the DUP hold all the cards here. 95% of this agreement apparently has been signed and sealed in effect. 5% still remains undecided. It all now depends on the DUP, and they could actually cause that no-deal scenario.
They could. They're actually saying there will be no deal. So that's what they're saying. The idea that we're talking about EU, Dublin and the Cabinet, they're talking about this backstop. The DUP are very clear where they stand. No one's been under any illusions about their own positions. So basically, I think there is a difficulty there of trying to square that. And that's why I say at some stage, someone along the line, for the greater interest of the United Kingdom, may have to throw them overboard.
And for the greater interest of the EU, because it simply doesn't want a no-deal scenario itself, does it?
No, of course it doesn't, no. And it would be quite bad for the Irish Republic, but they are, you know, Varadkar is under a lot of pressure now. He spoke in Dáil Éireann today, and a kind of compromised language. He was trying to be fluid about this backstop yesterday, and I think that he came under severe pressure from opposition parties in Dáil Éireann when he was talking. And he said, basically, look, when we had the Good Friday Agreement, we had to be a little bit nimble with the language we used to get to that agreement. That's what I'm trying to do. But nevertheless, domestically, he's under pressure not to move anywhere towards the British position, and he won't.
Are they over-politicising the Good Friday Agreement, saying that any hard border would actually threaten the peace process?
No, I think it would be a difficulty, and I think it would look very bad for the United Kingdom if they were seen to be walking away from that agreement, and that, you know, there would be violence reoccurring again. And we've had threats from many different places about that.
What about then the fact that here we have a situation where a no deal is likely, and you've just been to Germany, I understand. What is the sentiment there? Because surely the EU don't want to push the UK's position so much so that the DUP can actually bring down the government on this, and that's not what the EU wants. They clearly want to still negotiate with the Tory government and Theresa May, do they? Do they not? And is there a fear, a sentiment, you've just come back from Germany, that we could end up with this no-deal situation and a collapse of the Tory government?
Well, they've got their own problems in terms of, but to answer your question directly, the government and the public policy groups that are there and the party politicians and bureaucrats are keeping their cards close to their chests and saying, but basically, we're not really that bothered if there's a no deal. If there's a no deal, we'll have to, you know, go forward and deal with that as it comes along. I mean, they would prefer not to have it. Where there is an uncomfortable feeling is among businesses who are feeling that this is one of their biggest export markets, and a no deal would cause a lot of disruption to supply chains. But let's remember, the DUP, if they topple the government, it may lead to an election where the Labour Party may get elected. There may be a second referendum. But what I'm seeing from Brussels and generally from a European side is that there is an idea that maybe we have to extend Article 50. And that would be the thing, that we don't go down to the 29th of March and that we've got a deadline there, that we can extend it. And there would be a willingness, as far as I can see, that if there was going to be progress in the discussions, that they would be able to extend the Article 50.
The Prime Minister is absolutely clear that there is going to be an extension of our membership of the Customs Union. So does that mean that you will vote against the deal that she brings back?
Well, it contradicts the Prime Minister's previous position. What was meant to happen was that the period post our leaving, the 21 months, was an implementation period of what had been agreed, not a continuation of negotiations. The idea was that although the EU couldn't formally sign a deal, the outline of it would be agreed and then would be signed once we'd left, with 21 months to implement it. What we're now being told is because the government's negotiations haven't achieved this, which a harsher person than me might call a failure, the government is now going to ask for even longer to negotiate without any clear time limit. That is not delivering on Brexit.
So can I be clear, because it is important, people will... You are saying that you yourself, and presumably a number of your colleagues, are now certain to vote against this Brexit deal?
We're not certain because we haven't seen the deal. What I'm saying is that people like me are sticking to the Conservative Party manifesto,
so
which
if there is an extension of our membership of the Customs Union, that is, for you, to use that dreadful phrase, a red line, and in those circumstances, you would vote against the deal?
I'm sticking to the Conservative Party manifesto that said we would leave the Customs Union, and it didn't say that we would leave it subject to extending it for years and years and years, potentially. So, yes, you're absolutely right. If there is an extension to the Customs Union, I will vote against it, because it denies what the Prime Minister herself has said and has promised, and I expect the Prime Minister to deliver on her promises.
At first light, the workers were summoned to the factory. They'd all heard the rumours. Now it's confirmed. Michelin will pull out of Dundee within years. 845 jobs here will be lost.
I wouldn't say there was anger in there, it was just
subdued. Very subdued.
Very subdued.
What do you think it means for Dundee?
It's crippling. Absolutely crippling for Dundee. It's the biggest employer we've got in Dundee.
Hopefully we've still got at least 18 months employment. It'll give us time to look for other jobs.
Word of the closure was leaked to before the company could tell them officially, but the writing was on the wall. This Dundee factory specialises in the wrong tyre size. The 16s they make with pride here are just no longer in demand for a changing market.
I'd like to publicly apologise to my employees. The news being leaked in that way was never the intended plan, and I think it was unforgivable that they were put in that position. So I just wanted to say that before I answer your question. What's happened is we are responding to a structural, significant change in the car tyre market in Europe.
Michelin closed its factory in Northern Ireland earlier this year, cutting 860 jobs. Ironically, the company said that was because it wanted to invest more in Dundee. Scotland's Finance Secretary visited the site today and is pleading for the UK government to help him change Michelin's mind.
Whilst they said they don't want to revisit the decision, they're willing to give me a hearing, to meet me in a few weeks' time, to hear the proposition that I would be able to present, to try and give the plan and the workers here at Dundee a future.
This was meant to be a year of revival here. Instead, it's a familiar gloom. And Dundee is feeling done in as the lights go out at yet another of its proud industries. Peter Smith, ITV News, Dundee.
Thank you. It is quite extraordinary that we can have in this room the head honchos of Brussels, Mr Juncker, the Belgian Prime Minister, the leaders of the big groups, to discuss the future of the European project, and there's barely been a mention of the biggest, most dramatic event that has ever happened since the foundation of the European treaties 60 years ago, namely Brexit. You don't want to talk about Brexit. And I wonder whether it had actually ever occurred to you, Mr Juncker, that when David Cameron came here to negotiate with you, had you given him just a few modest concessions, had you given him the ability to control our borders a little bit more, Brexit wouldn't have happened. But no, we don't discuss that. No, what we do is we say to ourselves that our citizens want more Europe. I've heard it again and again this morning. There are some, like Mr Verhofstadt here, who seem to think that this flag represents a European identity, and he clearly identifies as a European. Many of you in this room identify as Europeans, but you're missing something. The peoples of Europe do not identify with that flag. They do not identify with these institutions. There is no... Oh, well, if you're on the payroll, it's easy to say it works, isn't it? But actually, out there in the real world, there is not a European demos, there is not a European identity. Maybe, but maybe, there may be one exception. There may be one exception, and that could be Belgium. Because nobody ever dares tell the truth about Belgium. Belgium is not a nation. It's an artificial creation. I know the Brits did it. Maybe once again we can be blamed. But the truth is there are two parts of Belgium. They speak different languages. They dislike each other intensely. There's no national TV station. There's no national newspaper. Belgium is not a nation, and maybe that's why you're happy to sign up to a higher European level. Well, if Belgium wants it, that's fine, but I can assure you, and you can scream and shout all you like, just look at the election result. You're losing, folks. You're losing. Brexit is the first brick out of the wall. You've learnt none of the lessons. The days of this project are over. We want to live in nation states, not false artificial creations. Thank you, everybody. Have a lovely time. Oh, enjoy the European elections next year. They're going to be great fun.
Speaker, I have a major internet-based hotel and travel booking company in my constituency, and in the absence of an adequacy deal, they will have to strike 72,000 separate contractual agreements with hotels across Europe. Does the Minister understand that if Brexit means Brexit, no deal means no holiday?
I think that's ever so slightly on the alarmist side, Mr. Speaker. What I would say to the honourable gentleman, is it's important for us all to bear in mind that the starting point here is that we comply with all the data adequacy measures that the EU requires. We have implemented the GDPR, and we are therefore in a very good position as we begin these discussions. We can therefore be optimistic about their outcome.
Mr. David Lammy.
Well, can I say to the Home Secretary that the relationship between this country and the West Indies and Caribbean is inextricable. The first British ships arrived in the Caribbean in 1623, and despite slavery, despite colonisation, 25,000 Caribbeans served in the First World War and Second World War alongside British troops. When my parents and their generation arrived in this country under the Nationality Act of 1948, they arrived here as British citizens. It is inhumane and cruel for so many of that Windrush generation to have suffered so long in this condition, and for the Secretary of State only to have made a statement today on this issue. Can she explain how many have been deported? She suggested earlier that she would ask the High Commissioners. It is her department that has deported them. She should know the number. Can she tell the House how many have been detained as prisoners in their own country? Can she tell the House how many have been denied health under the National Health Service? How many have denied pensions? How many have lost their job? This is a day of national shame, and it has come about because of a hostile environment policy that was begun under her Prime Minister. Let us call it as it is. If you lay down with dogs, you get fleas. And that is what has happened with this far-right rhetoric in this country. Can she apologise properly? Can she explain how quickly this team will act to ensure that the thousands of British men and women denied their rights in this country under her watch in the Home Office are satisfied?
Mr. Speaker, I share the honourable gentleman's admiration for the people who came here from the Caribbean and contributed so much to our society in many, many different ways, and that admiration remains in place. I am concerned that the Home Office has become too concerned with policy and strategy and sometimes lose sight of the individual. And this is about individuals. And we have seen the individual stories, and they have been, some of them, terrible to hear. And that is why I have acted. That is why I have put a very clear time limit on the amount of time it will take to correct this. That is why I am so committed to ensuring that there is no cost involved. That is why I'm so committed to making sure that we can work across departments. We hope to be able to get the information that will be needed ourselves, in the same way that we're looking ahead to the EU settled status, where we will be able to engage with other departments to look at national insurance numbers. We will share, we will lead on finding the responsibility, finding the evidence, so we can get the documents for the people who need it. Finally, on one other point that he raised, I am not aware of any specific cases of a person being removed in these circumstances. That is why I have asked the High Commissioners, if they know of any, that they should bring it to me. And I would ask anybody here, if they know of any such circumstances, they should bring them to the Home Office.
Brexit. You forgot England. So I've talked before about Brexit in relation to Northern Ireland and Scotland. I've briefly gone into the fact that Wales is a predominantly Labour-run country. But England, on the other hand, as a unified country, has some strange politics going on with it right now. Take your mind back to this summer. England were doing well at the World Cup, nothing was happening with Brexit, the royals were getting married, and Trump was coming to visit. Yet on all of those events, the country was divided. The World Cup brought in rows about flying the English flag and whether we were any good at football anyway. Trump's visit started a protest that involved flying a blimp on his image, which in turn started an attack on the London Mayor Sadiq Khan for allowing the blimp. The royal wedding whitewashed over the country's problems and saturated the news media for a month, making everyone bored sick. And Brexit. Well, need I say more about Brexit and what it has done or has not done to England? From hate crime to Leavers versus Remainers to the British pound, Labour and the Tories, Brexit has ripped apart everything for us to start again. These events only highlight the many divisions England faces. London versus the rest of England, the rich versus the poor, the establishment versus the anti-establishment, the north versus the south, liberals versus the far right, PC culture versus the nanny state, Remainers versus Leavers, young versus old, and more importantly, the English versus the British. When I ask the question, which country are you from? Some of you will say England, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, and some of you will say Britain. That's the problem. Nationalism has become associated with far-right divisions and even xenophobia and racism. We've always lived in a confusing country of 4 nations in one united kingdom. A country more remembered internationally for its comedy and history than its present. The Welsh, Northern Irish and Scottish have their own governments, but the English don't. They just get the British government. But Yorkshire has nothing to do with London, or Birmingham, or Manchester. Now that the UK is leaving the EU, people have said the country will be known as Little England, a forgotten relic of its past. But that statement forgets the people of England who are forgotten anyway. It forgets the Remainers who will try and keep us in the EU, and it forgets the Leavers who can see the benefits of being out. It forgets what the UK has to offer and why our presence in the world is crucial. The world needs English culture, regardless of how much the English have tried to destroy it ourselves. What would Spain be without English tourism? What would football be without English clubs? What would America be without the English perspective on its gun laws, racism and Trump? Without the English way, the English culture and the world view wouldn't feel homely. It would be an alien mix of culture you don't understand. In the modern world, English culture is slowly being eradicated, torn apart and censored. But there's ways England can profiteer and be important once again. I just hope our great nation isn't split up even more. England doesn't mean being white or Christian. It's more about being slightly awkward or reserved or polite. Somebody who likes pie and mash or going to the pub or curry. Most importantly, being English means being welcoming. A home will never feel homely if it becomes unfamiliar and even uncomfortable. With the divisions this country is facing and the English people's desire to kick out or dismiss the people they don't agree with from their home, then England may lose its sense of belonging. That includes a Remainer takeover of Brexit, as well as a far-right takeover as well. We need a deal to ensure economic stability to feed the northern powerhouse. We need a deal to ensure political stability, to unite the parties and devolved government. We need a deal to stop Remainers trying to remain and stop Leavers trying to get a no deal. The Chequers deal has become like family. We can't change it, but it's all we've got. Some homes aren't nice places to live. Maybe it would be better to forget England as we know it, or maybe we should try and make this home work.
During the referendum, big promises were made to the people of Scotland. The promise was made of more powers for Scotland, and that the Barnett formula, the system used to allocate money to Scotland, should be maintained. The day after, David Cameron emerged from Downing Street talking of more powers for Scotland and England's MPs. The UK government set up the Smith Commission to decide which powers Scotland should get. The Scottish government made the case for substantial new powers, while the No campaign parties cut back on the promises they made before the referendum. But limited new powers were proposed, powers we want to use for the good of Scotland. Alongside these new powers, a new system of allocating money to Scotland needed to be agreed. This is called the Fiscal Framework. The Smith Agreement, signed by all political parties, outlined a core set of principles for the fiscal framework. The most important of these is the principle of no detriment. This principle means that Scotland should not suffer financially just because we gain new powers. The Treasury ignored this. From day one, they tried to use the process that was supposed to be about delivering new powers to slash Scotland's budget. And not just on a one-off basis, but forever, year after year. At the start of negotiations, they proposed a £7 billion cut. Then it was £3 billion. Then it was £2.5 billion. They were trying to use the referendum to say to Scotland, heads we win, tails you lose. Throughout the many months of negotiations, the SNP were clear. We would not sign up to a deal that shortchanges Scotland. We demanded a fair deal and the powers that were promised to Scotland. Finally, they agreed. The SNP secured a deal that ensures Scotland will not be a penny worse off and the new powers will be delivered. It is the SNP's job to stand up for Scotland, and by neutralising a Treasury cash grab on Scotland's budget, that's exactly what we've done.
Our goal is simple: a fairer country for all those born here, for those who have chosen to make this their home, and for the generations yet to come. That is why we believe in an independent Scotland. So know this, believe in this, work for this. Hope is possible. A better future is within our grasp. And together we are going to make it happen.
I have formally triggered Article 50 and begun the process through which the United Kingdom will leave the European Union. This will be a defining moment for our whole country as we begin to forge a new relationship with Europe and a new role for ourselves in the world.
It's going well, it's very, very well organised. What they do...
Get me a ladder.
Well, I grew up in a Scotland where the decisions about our future are taken by the people who care most about Scotland, the people who live here.
I don't know if you can see changes that have come over me in these few days. I've been afraid that I might drift away, so I'm telling stories, singing songs which made me think about where I come from. That's the reason what I see so far away today. Let me tell you that I love you, and I think about you all the time. Caledonia, you're calling me, I'm going home. If I should become a stranger, you know, it will make me more than sad. Caledonia, you've been everything I ever had. Now I moved and kept on moving through the points that I needed proving. Lost the friends I needed losing, I knew I was on the way. I kissed the ladies, left some crying, stolen dreams, yes, there's no denying. I'm tripping hard with causes flying, somewhere in the wind. Let me tell you that I love you, and I think about you all the time. Caledonia, you're calling me, I'm going home. If I should become a stranger, you know, it will make me more than sad. Caledonia, you've been everything I ever had. I'm sitting here before the fire, the empty room, the father's quiet, the flames that could be cannot higher, they ridden out, they're gone. But I'm steady thinking, my way is clear, and I will know what I do tomorrow. When the hands are shaking and kisses flow, then I will disappear. So let me tell you that I love you, and I think about you all the time. Caledonia, you're calling me, now I'm going home. If I should become a stranger, you know, it will make me more than sad. Caledonia, you've been everything I ever had.
lost the words in my mouth. The silence sings a sweeter song than anything we've heard before. A symphony of stars and of sunsets, the desperate cries of a lonesome man. So let the music wrap you up in its arms. Let it hold you close and never let you go. The mystery of love sings its strength over you. Can you hear the silent song of hope? Come on, baby, would you take my hand? It may be a rough road, but I wanna take that chance. Sometimes I'm gonna fall, but I get right back up again. Because this song is gonna last a lifetime. So may I have this dance. Hold on, honey, let's not let ourselves get so excited that we forget that we're gonna spend our whole lives fighting for a whole lot more. What might seem so right in our eyes, sometimes I might even step on your toes, but don't let go, no, no. Come on, baby, would you take my hand? It's gonna be a rough road, but we've gotta take that chance. Sometimes we're gonna fall, but we'll get right back up again. Cause this song is gonna last a lifetime. So may I have its dance. Every separation is a promise to return. There's beauty in the emptiness where the fires of love can burn. Every bit of letting go is a holding on to hope. We gotta know we're spending our lives on more than learning how to go. Come on, baby, won't you take my hand? It's gonna be a rough road, but we've gotta take this chance. Sometimes we're gonna fall, but we'll get right back up again. Because this song is gonna last a lifetime. This song is gonna last forever. So may I have this dance. Oh, oh, this song is gonna last forever.
Next up is Lost European, The Man in the House of Cards.
Lonely days followed by lonely nights. Faithful friends gathered by satellite. Take me to the land of Oz tonight. The man in the house of cards. In ivy green, marble halls reflecting my state of being, tapestry with the smell of paraffin, the man in the house of cards. Else, my judgment is good enough for two. Don't touch, you may change. The only person I ever knew.
Next we have Ekaterina, No One.
No one can replace you, but I don't think you feel the same way. I love you, my love is so strong. I need you so bad. My soul is empty when I don't see you, and it makes me too sad. If it came true, I would ask you stay with me. Don't make an error. No one will replace you in my life ever. La 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 la
It's hot to death like fur coats in Miami. I throw you a bone like rappers get Grammys. When I was feeling obsolete, I got it.
Next up is Lowdown, just for the record.
No time for a good girl, baby, I need a bluesy. Break it down straight if y'all ain't getting this. Hard like on my plate, my style is blend different. I'm stepping to the mic when I'm getting that edge. Then I shut it down like a main power switch. Get funky as hell like a polecat spray. So tell me what's the name again, kid? Damn right, I get you going like a green light and gun it. Got you shaking your head to disbelief like who done it. Don't need Richard Roundtree to solve this mystery. The name is Tirade, hell yeah, the rest is history. I'm a great wonder like the pyramids of Giza. Never sold my soul like my name is Condoleezza. Took this day to Mexico thanks to free trade. They was like, como se llamas? That's words of my fam. The impossible's a lowdown like tumbleweed at 12 o'clock noon. It's a showdown. My pen and my notebook strapped right to my hip. I put it between your eyes when I shoot the gift. You know I'm a fly guy, this you can't dispute. I'm rhyming for the love and I'm rhyming for the loot. I'll be the life of the party wearing a lampshade. God damn it, what's my name? Yeah, let it ring out from block to block. It's that cold stank funk like an old sweat sock. I'm hooked on the track like it was nicotine. It's just for the record, know what I mean? I give bad advice like the devil on your shoulder. The laugh when the consequences hit you like a boulder. That put you in a trance like some Haitian voodoo. You're bugging and tripping, your code doing backflips. Girlies get saturated when my name is on their lips. But don't get it twisted like y'all squirting braids. Say my name loud and proud. Hell yeah, that's my handle and don't you forget it. I'm straight cash money like I was bad credit. So let's get spun like tornadoes in Texas. I know you're feeling this down angels on a plexus. Just like Daddy Kane, I'm getting the job done. Unlike Rob Bates, it only takes one to blow up your spot like a hand grenade. So what's my name? Once again, you know what, buddy boy. Everything I destroy, but you can't play me yet like Richard Pryor in the toy. I'm the first string coming through with the clutch, solid like concrete, I'm real to the touch. This is for my comrades like hammers and sickles, straight to your dome with a bag full of nickels. Got it made in the shed like Florida Everglades. One more time for posterity. I must be dim-witted cause this beat's retarded. Best to get with it, let your beat get started. I get you open like you was buck naked. Let me take a second, this is just for the record.
You're listening to Independent TV and Radio Scotland. Channel Radio ICE.
Now playing Jeff Hurley, Living It Up.
In the still of the night, I was driving through town. When I stopped at the light, simple sound came around. Said, come on, time to party down. Said, there's no time to lose, everyone will be there. They got plenty of booze that they're willing to share. Come on, time to party down. It came on like a dream, as strange as it seemed. Was no time to be living it up, living so can I.
Now playing Jason Shaw, Pioneers. Next we have Dano, Nuclear Makeup.
You told me what you think. I listened. You stayed on through my endless disdain. You laid back, I went on. We made up. I feel your gentle for me side. perception of this fight. You considered my position, I received your other side. I feel your gentle form inside, and your heartbeat's turning into mine. And I didn't mean it for you. I hope I can give satisfaction. It wasn't the time for discussion. I withdraw into this. And your heartbeat's turning into mine. And I didn't think that for you. I hope I can give satisfaction. It wasn't the time for discussion. I withdraw. Satisfaction. It wasn't the time for discussion. I withdraw into this.
Playing now. Michelle Channel, Can't Get Enough Sunlight.
Tangled under a blanket, I feel
coolest radio station in the world, Radio Ice, from Independent TV and Radio Scotland.
Now playing Lost European, Clean Clean. Track playing now. Cortland Gaffina, Best Friends.
It's never the same in the best way. I can't explain the safety I found here. Is this what I found? I think that I've struggled. Someone as crazy as me, and I won't let go. I'll accept you if you accept me. Did we just become best friends? me now, is this what we need? Because I have been screaming out for someone, please. It's never ending, this game in between, because we're looking out for ourselves in the end. Is this what I've found? I think that I've struggled. Someone as crazy as me, and I won't let go. I'll accept you if you accept me. Did we just become best friends? Well, I hope that this never ends. But sometimes it does, and we wonder how we got here. It's never enough for some, and the only way out is to let go and move on. But that doesn't mean I don't remember, I don't care. No, that doesn't mean I don't remember what we shared. Is this what I've found? I think that I've struggled. Someone as crazy as me, and I won't let go. I'll accept you if you accept me. Did we just become best friends? Well, I hope that this never ends.
Playing now. Eno Toivonen, Spassa Squirrel Olympics. track playing now. Rudy Roger, Get a Little.
You're listening to Independent TV and Radio Scotland. Channel Radio ICE.
Next we have Michelle Channel, Final Swim.
While the sharks circled round below, have you felt their teeth ink your skin? Wondering why you decided to swim. Seemed like a good thing at the time. Feet in the sand, no clouds in sight. Hands did the shaking, but eyes don't lie. Didn't know how high that tide would climb. Now it's coming down to the end. Take a breath for that final swim. Have you ever signed your life away to give life to the music you make? Seemed like a good deal at the time. Feet in the sand, no clouds in sight. Hands did the shaking, but eyes don't lie. Didn't know how high that tide would climb. clouds in sight. Hands did the shaking, but eyes don't lie. Didn't know how high that price would climb. Didn't know how high that price would climb.
Track playing now. Jeff Hurley, Peace of Mind.
Everybody's talking but they got nothing to say. I just wanna turn around and run the other way. I don't wanna hear it, I just want a little peace of mind. Candidates debating, ringing hollow as can be. Nothing that they say or do means anything to me. I can't understand it, I just want a little peace of mind. Sometimes I think that I can hear them from a mile away. There isn't much that you can do. They make a promise of a better day, but you know it's not true. It's just like I told you. I don't wanna hear it anymore. I feel like I've heard it all before. You know that I'm trying. I'm trying to leave it all behind. I'm trying to see my way to find peace of mind. Everybody's talking but they got nothing to say. I just wanna turn around and run the other way. I don't wanna hear it, I just want a little peace of mind. Sometimes I think that I can hear them from a mile away. There isn't much that you can do. They make a promise of a better day, but you know it's not true. It's just like I told you. I don't wanna hear it anymore. I feel like I've heard it all before. You know that I'm trying. I'm trying to leave it all behind. I'm trying to see my way to find peace of mind. A little peace of mind. Just a little peace of mind.
Playing now. Josh Woodward, Perfect.
And the Hugh Grant stuff you've watched enough. You mumble it in your dreams. You rock out on a broom and mangle some tunes. On weekends you dance in jammy pants until the afternoon. And I know it's hard to think that someone could be in sync with all your eccentricities. You're perfect in the perfect way. You're perfect and I hope you stay. Your goofy little self eternally. Oh, I'm weird like you, I know it's true. I'm in the clouds up there with you. You think you're flawed, but wouldn't you agree? You're perfect for me. You talk to yourself as well. You read ahead on Walking Dead before you watch the show. You eat bread with fur, you still call me sir. There's a piece of gum from 91 that's hiding in your purse. But no matter what I sing, I wouldn't change a thing. You're my postmodern masterpiece. You're perfect in the perfect way. You're perfect and I hope you stay. Your goofy little self eternally. Oh, I'm weird like you, I know it's true. I'm in the clouds up there with you. You think you're flawed, but wouldn't you agree? You're perfect for me. Your mind and mine are strangely intertwined, and that's just a-okay with me. You're perfect in the perfect way. You're perfect and I hope you stay. Your goofy little self eternally. Oh, I'm weird like you, I know it's true. I'm in the clouds up there with you. You think you're flawed, but wouldn't you agree? You're perfect for me.
Next we have Brielle Rathbun and Colin Jeffries, Broken People.
When I watch from afar, even just to prick upon your skin where you bleed my body scars. Flames come from sparks. Before it all burns down, I trap the sounds, keep each memory in a jar. I don't know why we try so hard to understand that some things we can't fix ourselves, they can't be mended by hand. Ooh, no, we kiss, now we try to forget about who we actually love. So we just stood in regret till we both gave up, yeah. Some broken people get lost for love. Broken people, yeah. Say that love is good. Right now I'm too scared and unprepared to feel it like I should. Go and take every dream. My heart goes up and down, I hit the ground, not as pretty as it seems. Oh yeah, I don't know why you try so hard to understand that some things you can't fix yourself, they can't be mended by your hands. Ooh, no, we kissed, now we try to forget about who we actually love. So you just stood in regret till we both gave up. Ooh. Some broken people get lost for love. Broken people, stop breathing, don't stop believing, just keep thinking. I just wanna break. Ooh, don't stop breathing, don't stop believing, just keep thinking. I just wanna break, 'cause I'm sick of breathing, sick of believing, sick of thinking. I just wanna
You're listening to Independent TV and Radio Scotland, Channel Radio Ice.
Next up is Lowdown, Watch Your Mouth.
Check it. You can scream when you burn or just jump into the flames, cause I'm here to bring the heat like a tank full of propane. I step to the stage like a man with no name. I show you no shame and flow like cold rain. Show up and blow brains with the wicked metaphors. You be still trying to figure as you're stepping through the door at the end of the night. Yo, what the fuck did he say? I got notebooks of this to spit for all day and flow for always. I study it and practice, and that's what they ask if I can spit backwards. Say I net words that you carefully listen. They figure you and do you what is pants you're kissing. Okay. Listen, just the word will make you look a little closer. As Mr. Warhammer, I am a breakbeat composer. Flows for many years, and this is just the latest. I roll with tirade, these fools, they can't fade us. And if they try to test, they get beaten like a sadist. And those that try to play us, come on man, stop it. Suckers get afraid when I drop it. Watch them wet themselves like the pet dog pissing on the carpet. And even if I rock it off topic, I still pull your eyes out your sockets and put them in your pockets. So when you dig in to pull them out, what's up? You can raise them to your face and start watching your mouth. You want 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 your mouth. Who the hell you think you're talking to? Tell your story walking fool. You're fucking with the heavyweight, you better watch your mouth. Everybody's rapping in, but very few is happening. Straight FMC, you need to chill like Chuck, chill out. Reusable, recyclable, retarded ass lyricals, verbal diarrhea that's holding the Pangea. I can't even see you cause you're transparent like glass. I wouldn't wanna be you, watch your mouth. Dumbass, everybody doing big things, always on the come up. These shows are gonna blow up, all these hoes about to hoe up. Before you get the dough up, homeboy, you need to slow up. You need to shut the fuck up, or it needs you need to grow up. So bring your fucking blows up, or we'll put on the gag order. You get deported to opposite of map order. This one goes out to the ass with the head stuck up. Have a tall glass of shut the fuck up. MCs coming back, greedy mic grabbers. Hey, other fools is whack with all that jabba jabba. We got to get the gabba, but we ain't black delicious. So you know that I know that you know what this is. Realign your word with this hip-hop symmetry. Middle finger goes on to the player pimp imagery about making stacks and other lofty high goals. You ain't saying jack, so close your damn pie hole. You want your mouth. 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 You want your mouth.
Next up is Michelle Channel, Waiting for You.
All around there's open air, stretching miles and miles ahead. But when I look down, my eyes follow you. Can you feel my thoughts beside your hair when you're walking straight ahead? You're not alone here from beyond the sunrise. I'll be waiting for you, for you. I'll be waiting for you, for you. Calling out, you say my name, though you think that I can't hear. But when I look down, I see only you. When you close your eyes to get some rest, do you know that I'm still here in this beyondness, from beyond the sunrise? I'll be waiting for you, for you. I'll be waiting for you, for you. I'll be waiting.
Next we have We Is Sure dedicated Ice Cubes.
By herself on the highest shelf, slapped the widow's bell. Flashlights shook everywhere we looked, couldn't find our path. Stirring shape, there's a body in this bed. This could be our friend. It's dawning. Lights are off and we better keep them on, as the darkness floods our abandoned hearts. Wake up, Sal, won't you wake up, Sal, it will be alright. Life is long, you can leave some other day when we're gray. Never mind what voices say, keep the ice cubes in that tray. Without you there's less of us. Fell and tilt and we are dust. Never mind what voices say, keep the ice cubes in the tray. Without you there's less of us. Fell and tilt and we are dust. Save your hide, drown your anger in a fight, in a glass of pills. that train. Without you there's less of us. Balance tilt and we are dust. Never mind what voices say. Keep the ice cubes in that train. Without you there's less of us. Balance tilt and we are dust. Never mind what voices say. Keep the ice cubes in that train. Without you there's less of us. Balance tilt and we are dust.
Next we have Lost European, No Photographs.